So we should be live now.
Yeah, I think
Hello,
so.
hello, welcome. Can you hear me clearly?
I can.
You can, great. Very, very pleased to have you today on my tea time chat.
Thanks for you.
Yeah, actually, I can't hear you that well. So could you turn your mic up a little bit? Or yeah, if you sit a bit closer, that would be great.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Okay. So yeah, so let's get started. Oh, something's clicked in yet. No, that's fine. Okay. Let's get started. Yeah, so welcome to my tea time chat. I'm very pleased to have you, and I hope you brought a drink along for the session.
Yeah. Do I show you now?
Yeah. So what is your go-to drink?
So I've got my little nice little teacup.
Boss, yes.
But I thought it's not my usual drink because I'll probably go with like fresh ginger or something like that. And I know it's so hot outside today, but
it is hot, unusually so, isn't it?
Exactly. I thought it's quite a nice opportunity to kind of promote another Black business.
Oh, okay.
I don't know whether, I mean, the writing may be backwards.
Happy period tea. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Well, I thought, you know, it's a really good company. It's called From Felicia. So she does holistic feminine care.
Fabulous.
And I think it's quite nice.
Fabulous.
This is the happy period tea. So for anybody that has kind of cramps, heavy periods, PMS symptoms and things like that, I just thought it'd be quite nice to kind of share.
So what's it? No, brilliant. Well done for sharing. And I'll check them out if they've got an Instagram account or anything like that. Yeah.
And she has quite a few different kind of teas and other products there. So yeah, do have a look.
Yeah. Is it loose leaf?
Yeah, it is loose leaves.
So what have you got? What have you got today?
So what's in there? I've got lady's mantle, red raspberry leaves, and lemon balm. That's what's inside.
Lemon balm, lovely, lovely. So it's quite a nice hormonal tea.
Yeah, exactly. So for anybody that might, you know, need anything for kind of cramps or those days that we have a month, and they're also good for like anybody that has kind of like fibroids or things like that.
Yeah, fabulous. Oh well, thank you for that top tip. Yeah. All right, so I'm drinking, and I should really do introductions before I talk about what I'm drinking. So for those of you who haven't joined my tea time session before, I'm Astra, and I'm a mindfulness mentor and yoga teacher. And my thing is really to help people transform stress into strength. And I do this through sharing mindfulness-based practices, but also through sharing accessible yogas for everyone. So that's me, and I do workshops. I do. Oh God, there's the phone. That didn't put it on mute. Oh, now I'm calling the police. Oh God, I'm gonna have to stop it. I'm literally calling the police. There's always something. Oh God, no, I need to stop calling the police. Just one moment. Yeah, it gives you a countdown that you're calling the police in. That was quite something. There's always something every week. I look forward to all the shenanigans. Yeah, so I think I was doing some spiel about what I do. Yeah, so I do online classes, which I'm beginning next week. For those of you who checked in last week and are expecting one tomorrow, I'm so sorry. I'm postponing that till next week. My son's back at school, and as soon as he get back to school, he's not very well. So a lot of my time has been spent taking care of him. Yeah, so I also do workshops for organizations who are concerned with, or not concerned, but are interested in promoting staff well-being. So I work with businesses and organizations as well. But Amani, you work with schools and young people, so please talk about a little bit about what you do and more about Project Yogi.
Sure. So, so I'm the founder of Project Yogi, which is a not-for-profit.
Just a little bit louder. I'm so sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, my voice is quite soft in general.
Yeah, no, it's a good meditation voice.
If I'm quite low, yeah, let me know. So, so Project Yogi is a not-for-profit. So yoga, mindfulness, and social emotional well-being programs or workshops for young people, and that is from toddlers all the way up to young adults.
Right.
And as you were saying, we go into schools, we work with youth organizations. I think because of everything that's kind of happened now, I'm kind of trying to change things a little bit, because schools are still kind of trying to find their feet, and I just want to, just in case anything like this happens again, that we're able to kind of stay in contact with young people and, you know, be able to support them even if they're not going to school.
So explain what you did before this madness, and how that's changed in terms of how you work with young people and children now.
So the majority of, I mean, what we were doing mainly was going into school. So this could be after school or during the day, and delivering sessions. So it could be like yoga for PE. It could have been yoga as kind of alternative provision. So maybe for young people that have like some behavioral issues or social emotional issues. And, you know, or it could have been, you know, going in to do a mindfulness workshop, mindfulness program, or, you know, well-being program. So we had kind of a number of programs. Again, they're going to change slightly. So we do yoga, introduction to mindfulness, a program called Be Well. So that was a combination of kind of different things like healthy living, healthy eating, building self-development, building confidence.
And this is in schools. That Be Well was in schools. Yeah. Amazing. So all the different modalities of well-being.
Exactly. And also we had quite a unique program called Mindful Literacy, which was just kind of a program to kind of support young people or students that have kind of low literacy levels. So that's what we were kind of doing before lockdown. I think kind of since then, and now that schools have kind of started, and some of them are not starting back up again with the after school programs or anything at the moment. No. You know, they've got staggered days, they're trying to find their feet, they're trying to work out how they're going to run. So, you know, we're not running anything right now, although we're due to kind of start some things towards the end of the month and the beginning of October. But I think going forward, I'm going to kind of shorten some of the programs that we're doing, kind of, especially our Be Well program. I'm going to, the plan is to kind of break it down. So, you know, it's not so long term, because these programs are kind of termly, which can be 6 to 12 weeks.
Because at the moment it's very unpredictable, isn't it? We don't know where things are at. So you're just going to offer schools and organizations things in very bite size.
Exactly.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, just short.
Well, I mean, what I wanted to talk to you about in particular is, why did you I know that you're a yoga teacher and you're a mindfulness teacher as well. I wanted to talk to you about why you felt it was so important to work with young people and children with the discipline of yoga and mindfulness. But before we do that, and I think it was me calling the emergency services that made my mind forget that we need to start with a pause. Before we get deep down into sharing, we need to start with a pause, as what I call every week a sip of awareness. So it's just a very brief moment where we just take some time to acknowledge that we're here sharing. So I'm inviting you, Amani, to just take a sip of awareness of your tea before we go a little bit deeper into what you do.
Okay. All right.
And for those of you who have joined us for this Facebook, I hope you were able to do the same. I am not seeing anybody jump on yet, and it could just be because there is a 15-second delay. So I'm just going to check on my other phone whether or not we've got some listeners before we go back into our discussion, and just see who we might have today. into our discussion and just see. Okay, so I'm just gonna. Okay, so Neda, I hope I pronounced your name right, but thank you, Neda, for joining us. And I know that Neda owns a lovely yoga studio in North London, so it's good to see Neda on here. But just be aware, Neda, that we have a little delay on there for any questions. But do pop some questions in. And for anyone else on the live, please, if you want to say hey, or if you have any questions, please jump in. Okay, yeah, so just getting back to what I'm interested in, I'm really interested in knowing why young people, why children?
Well, when I kind of started this organization, I was working in education, so I was teaching myself.
Okay, so you're a teacher. So that makes sense. That makes sense.
So it kind of, came together.
I didn't actually know that about you. Do you talk about it that much?
I don't know. I suppose I do. I feel like I have, or I at least mention it when I'm, when I'm probably talking about it, because it's how I got to. That's how I started the organization.
Yeah, no, that's really important, because in some ways teachers need mindfulness first, don't they? And so it makes sense that you, as a teacher who had a mindfulness practice, so you kind of immediately saw that link.
Exactly. That's it. That's where it came from, because I kind of really felt the benefits myself, and it done a lot for me, I suppose, especially with kind of anxiety and stress. And I just thought, this would be a really good tool for these young people, or for young people. That's kind of where the idea grew from, really.
Yeah. And how easy has it been? Because I know you're a non-profit organization, and it's amazing that you're offering these services for schools and young people. But it does, it's not easy to start a non-profit. I mean, I've always admired you. We haven't actually met in person, but I've always followed you and thought that, this is what's needed, and you've just decided you're going to provide it. Yeah. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I think it was, it wasn't easy. It didn't start as a not-for-profit. So I started as a kind of limited company.
Right.
And I thought, in order to kind of target more of the young people that I want to target, it may be best to become some type of not-for-profit charitable organization. So we can really, provide services for the young people and families that, wouldn't usually access.
Yeah, so your thing, from what I was reading about Project Yogi, is very much about underserved communities and ensuring that there's representation as well. And I'm very much about representation in the mindfulness and yoga space. Because it can just feel like another teacher, really, in some respects, when you're accessing some of the services. And I think that the beauty of mindfulness is that you can bring it into every day.
Exactly.
So tell me more about what types of things you're sharing with children to help with, you said anxiety, stress, lots of that going around, especially with period of coming out of, in lockdown, coming out of lockdown, maybe going back in, all the things that children are dealing with and maybe not talking about.
Yeah, I think it always depends on the age of the child. Right. Each age group is going to connect differently. With the younger ones, it's more kind of fun and play and stories and things like that. They seem to engage with better. And as the young people get older, it's more almost kind of like mentoring.
Mentoring.
Yeah, almost.
So mindfulness mentoring.
Yeah, it's almost, I see it as kind of more of a combination, because, I think a lot of, as time passes, you realize what works and what doesn't work. And I feel sometimes you can go in and just, teenagers are not going to engage. This is how I feel, not going to engage with the type of gamey play type thing that I may do with primary school. But then also they don't necessarily just engage with a lesson taught like you would an adult class.
Yeah.
So it's almost kind of coming down to their level. That's why I kind of say mentoring. So you're, you kind of have that common ground with them. They kind of
and this is what I meant, that I think it's quite innovative that you are tailoring mindfulness for different age groups. Because as I said, sometimes when you get these workshops at school, it just feels like another class.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is, as you say, with mentoring, it's almost like you're providing a guide for them to thrive, really.
Yeah, exactly, because number one, a lot of the communities or young people that I kind of work with, they're not interested. They wouldn't go to a studio and do a teen yoga class.
No, and also if it's called mindfulness, I mean, exactly. My daughter's like
100%, exactly.
She's just like, forget this yoga business, this mindfulness business. She's just not interested.
Right,
she's
they're not
nearly 14.
Exactly, not interested whatsoever. So it's just about coming at it at a different angle, because I just feel like this is really beneficial. And one, they've already got their ideas of what it is, what yoga is, who does it, and yes. It's they're not thinking it's for them.
No, because the yoga imagery at the moment is very one-sided.
Exactly.
Which we're trying to change. Just having this conversation today, hopefully people might look at it in a different way. And so okay, so tell me a little bit more about some of the creative stuff you do, because I know that you're also a Kemetic yoga teacher, so you specialize in African yoga. I want to know all about that. I did a workshop a year ago and it blew my mind. It really did. Mainly because two reasons. Was because you don't associate the wisdom of yoga with other cultures other than Indian culture, first and foremost. And then, so that was one thing. But also the second thing was the fact that I was doing yoga to drum beats,
Yeah, exactly.
It just felt so intuitive to me,
Exactly. That's it.
So tell me more about Kemetic yoga.
Yeah, so I want to say, because I think Kemetic term is what's popular. People know the word, and it's correct, because ancient Egypt, that's one of its names.
Yes.
But it's like when you're looking at yoga, there's African forms of yoga, which I'll discuss a little bit more in a moment.
Yeah.
It's kind of one system. So over here, so I always say it's called Smaitawi. So that's one of its original names.
Smaitawi, yeah.
Smaitawi or Simatawi.
And is this the Kemetic language?
This, exactly.
And so this predates, for those of you listening who are thinking ancient Egyptian, Kemetic, so from what my understanding is, I'm not an expert, is that the ancient Egypt is a Greek name. Egypt is a Greek name, and so Kemet was the name original from Africans before that.
Exactly. Yeah. One of its original names.
One of its original names, yeah.
It depends. Hamare. There's a lot. There's
a lot of names.
Exactly. So obviously, people hear Kemetic yoga, and that's how they know it. I always say Smaitawi or Egyptian yoga.
Right.
Just because Egyptian yoga is in the English.
Yes.
Smaitawi is its original name, meaning union. So it relates to union of lower and higher self, or union of the breath. So the trachea connecting the lungs. So that's another kind of representation, or union of the two lands, representation of higher and lower Egypt. So that's its kind of one of its original names. But I always say Egyptian yoga, but people kind of tend to know Kemetic yoga more. But the only reason I don't tend to say Kemetic yoga, because somebody's actually trademarked it as their own.
Is that right? So you can't actually say that.
Exactly. So that's why I tend not to say it, although that's the name a lot of people kind of know it as.
Yeah. Well, that's what I know it as. And but when the workshop I did, I think they broke it down in the way that you said. But the style of the yoga, how does it differ from maybe what we regard as conventional yoga physical practice?
So this is another reason why sometimes I like to define, because Kinetic Yoga, the guy who's developed it, has kind of taken Egyptian yoga, what he's learned, and kind of tweaked it to his own system.
Right.
And then some people know African yoga, and again, somebody's kind of, you know, made their own kind of tweaks, and that's their own little form of Egyptian yoga.
So it's just as complex as Indian yoga. I thought we were going to get some clarity.
No, there's no one. No. There's no one kind of thing. So this is why when I say Egyptian yoga, I'm talking about Samaya Tawi, you know, the original kind of system.
Right. Okay.
What kind of differs is it's almost like a story of creation. So when you go through it, the system represents kind of each part of a life cycle almost. And within each of those phases, you've got particular postures, if you want to call them. And a lot of them are kind of based on gods and goddesses of Egypt. And it's more symbolic. So what that god or goddess represents. And also, if you're looking at the whole system, everybody goes through this lifestyle. So you kind of start out where there's nothing in existence. But obviously there's always something, but you know, there's nothing physical. And it kind of goes through creation and goes through the beginning of time. And you know, it's almost like you're trying to get yourself back to that divine being.
So it's a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey through the self, which is very similar to self-realization.
Right, there you go.
That's the ancient Indian term.
So it's the same. Ultimately, it's the same because you're taking yourself to the same goal. You know, union with self. So bringing lower, higher self together to bring union to self, or union with the divine, however you want to say it. So really
amazing.
This is why I can't, when people say, no, it's Indian based. No, it's not. It's just because that's the form that you know. Doesn't mean it wasn't being taught elsewhere.
No, and actually you'll find lots of people who are Indian who will acknowledge that yoga is almost a universal truth as well, you know, which isn't kind of located anywhere, you know, and the offering of yoga wasn't location orientated. It was just a kind of universal truth, you know, in the way it was seen, whether you believe that or not, but in the way that it was seen and projected and taught to people. So yeah, although we do need to acknowledge the Indian lineage of the yoga practice that we know today in modern times, you're right, you know, these things are all over the world, you know, it's wisdom, it's knowledge, you know.
And there's evidence, you know, if people want to kind of look, there's images on pyramids and scribes and scrolls and things like that you're going to find it's there. So
there's yoga poses, isn't there? There's like literal yoga poses that you'd associate with yoga, and you know.
Yeah, even if you know, because we've got to remember, yoga is not just the physical. It's not just the asanas.
No.
Postures. So even if we take that bit away and we look at the other, you know, whether you want to look at the 8 limbs of yoga or so on, the same things they're practicing in ancient Egypt anyway. Do you know?
Yes, yeah. It's I understand that you know, ancient societies traveled. You know, it wasn't as linear as we think it is. Yeah, amazing. So do you incorporate this style of yoga in some of your workshops with the kids, or is it something that's just your practice? Are you sort of doing more traditional, for want of a better word, yoga practice?
Yeah, I suppose with the kids I never ever define, and you know, sometimes I may even just call them stretches. With the little ones we don't even define, because sometimes with the very small ones it's all playing games, you know. A pose could be, you know, this very little ones, preschoolers, or you know, very young primary school, it could be we're doing a posture and we're calling it an animal name, something else, you know. So I never, even with teens, I never kind of say it's this or that.
Usually I think that's really important. I mean, one of my little gripes at the moment is that the word mindfulness is used so often that it is kind of losing its meaning, to the point where, you know, you say mindfulness and nobody knows what you're talking about. You know, so you actually have to start to break it down. So when you're talking about working with young people with mindfulness, you're talking about, you know, getting them steady in the body.
Exactly.
You're talking about breathing in awareness. These things, you know, if we can kind of drop the labels, as you say, I think it would be a lot easier for young people to access. So anyway, I'm just going to see who else is on. So we've got Nina. Hey, Nina, good to see you. Nina, if you've got any questions, we're talking about mindfulness and yoga for young people and children. And we've got Mav as well. Hi, Mav. Yeah, so do tap us some questions. I mean, I've got a question. So my question is, what would your top tip be for working with yoga and mindfulness for my 9-year-old son? And what would be your top tip for my 13-year-old going on 40 daughter?
Yeah. I'd say with your son, it could be something more kind of playful, you know.
Playful approach.
Yeah. I mean, that usually works with that age group. And even sometimes I think, you know, because some kids grow up so quick, sometimes I might see kids that are like 11 and 12 and I'm like, oh, maybe they're not going to like these type of things, and they're like, no, we are interested in trying it, or oh, that looks interesting. Because a lot of the time I have props and things like that, which is quite nice because then it's quite engaging for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes I kind of think back to like education, teacher's mind, you know, because everything needs to kind of be a little bit engaging for them.
So it has to be kind of related to something relevant, maybe.
Yeah, I like to link it to either things that they may be learning for their age group.
Or, well, like the curriculum, like even the syllabus.
Yeah,
wow.
So even if it's the little ones, it could be, you know, they're learning things, even if it's really small ones, for example, they're learning things like colors or, you know, names of countries or, you know, things that they're learning. So sometimes I will do a theme for the class. Yeah. So it, you know, it ties into that theme. So you have to be really creative.
Yes, because you know, they get, I mean, my son does online yoga, not with me. I mean, although I did, I have worked on training courses for people working with early years practitioners for what they should be doing with particularly young children, but I'm not a specialist in sort of children's yoga. I've done lots of workshops and things like that, but it is, I would say it's not my thing, which is why you're here to share. So yeah, so a 13-year-old, I'm not sure my daughter's going to be down with, you know, imaginative play. It's totally so what would you say? So at the moment, I'm just going to think of some of the things that they're adjusting to. Some of the rules in school, really alien to them. You know, not being able to connect with their friends physically is a big deal. But also during the summer, there was this whole thing around exams and some of the older children not being able to sit their exams physically. And so there is that kind of, maybe I would say a little bit of anxiety, not using that word too loosely, but a worry that, you know, all of this may be in vain if things don't move forward. So if I'm sitting down with her, what type of practices could I share with her?
I'd say that age is definitely more kind of relaxation. I like to kind of teach them like breathing exercises they can do anytime, and sometimes their own feedback is really good, like you'll be surprised. And like now this week for Project Yogi, I'm doing a kind of back to school support kind of thing on social media. So, you know, yesterday we had some mindful tips for back to school. So there was some breathing exercises in there, just little things, remembering.
Where is that? Can I find that? Is that on YouTube?
So it's on our Facebook. So Project Yogi Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. We've posted on all of the platforms.
So what is the platforms? Remind me.
So our platforms for Twitter, Instagram and Facebook is just @Project Yogi. So I'm going to be posting all week. Tomorrow I'm going to do a 15-minute live relaxation.
Fantastic.
On Instagram.
Right. So guys, for those of you on, oh, hi Judy, good to see you, long time. Yeah, so those of you who are on, if you want to check out some live, is it live or recorded?
Yeah, tomorrow's one will be live.
Live, so some live or recorded practices for your young people. Check out Project Yogi. And I know that, as you said before, that in order to try to ensure that you're sharing this, these tools of mindfulness and yoga to help young people feel settled and confident and resilient, that you've actually started this as a community project. So it's something that you do need to continually get funding for.
Yeah.
So I'd really like you to share where people can donate to Project Yogi, so you can expand the reach. Are you London based?
We are London based, so at the moment we are, well, not even at the moment, towards the end of the month probably.
You're online / London.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's where we are, and I hope going forward we do a lot more online, just so we can continue to kind of support even when we're not at the school or at any schools. And then if you want to donate, we've got a GoFundMe campaign going at the moment, so you can find that on our website, which is www.projectyogi.com. I think there's a link on Facebook, on our Facebook page, that's at Facebook, at Project Yogi.
Yeah.
You can find it on our Twitter. It's at the top. It's pinned to the top of our Twitter page. And
the GoFund page, yeah.
GoFund page, and Instagram is in our bio link as well. So
fabulous. So you guys, if you do feel you want to contribute to a project that is expanding mindfulness and yoga for young people, particularly right now, and Amani is working very hard to pivot the offer so you can get into schools in accordance to, you know, some of the scheduling, which is no easy task, because we're not quite sure where we're at any one time. But the fact that you're online is amazing as well. So yes, so I will drop that GoFund link as well in this Facebook page. We're coming to a close, but just before we finish, I've got some questions. So Mav has said, what mindfulness practice would you recommend for young people who are working in isolation? That's a really good question, because, you know, some of them are having 14 days when they're, you know, at home when their friends are at school, which is kind of worse, isn't it? You know, when everyone's off.
Yeah, exactly. I would say breathing exercises are always good, especially because you're in the classroom, and there's different ways you can do it. There's even things you can kind of log into online and maybe put it on the board, just shows their breathing. So there's easy ones like counting breath, breathe in for 4 breaths, out for 4 breaths, and it can just be for, you know, 2 minutes. And you might think they're not engaged, but after a while, even if one or two are not engaging, you'll find that there are a few at least, and then maybe the others will start to follow if you're going to do it.
So we've got counting breath, and there is this ball thing. I remember I did a workshop. You have that breathing ball that expands, and so that visual as well.
It's quite nice. I feel like breathing exercises are always good for teens. They always try it, even if it's just taking a few deep breaths in, for them to do that just for 2 minutes. I think that's good. You can always do some stretches. You don't have to tell them it's yoga. You can just say, you're gonna get up and just, you know, stretch.
I think I've been rattled in my house. I think they know it's yoga. I can't disguise it. But yeah, so just coming into some movement and some just really simple breath practices. So counting up to 4 and then counting out for 4 as well.
There's lots of breathing exercises, and if you all our social media, especially this week, I'm going to be posting tips, and it's mainly for teens, because I think in the past we've targeted a lot of parents with young children. We want to try and talk to young people directly. So all this week I'm going to be posting tips and different things like that, so you can have a look on our social media. There's stuff on there at the moment, you know, coping skills we've posted today. Yesterday was mindful tips. And, you know, I'll be doing more this week and ongoing, even once this week's kind of stopped. I'll be posting things every now and again to kind of support young people.
Fantastic. So you've got it. So if you go to Project Yogi, you'll find lots of resources for young people, for your young people, if you've got young people listening, or grandchildren, or just friends that you'd like to share. If you know people that, you know, are a little bit concerned about their child's kind of mental resilience during this kind of up down, lockdown, not lockdown period. So you've been really amazing in sharing some of the tips, Amani. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all that you're doing, because you know, when you look at the things that's needed around you, you know, you as a person, you can't cover all the the basis, you know. So I'm doing what I feel is needed and what I have the capacity to do. But one of the reasons why I do these chats is I want to share what other people are doing to, you know, to help where they can. And I always admire people that, you know, are doing things like projects rather than doing it specifically for the money. And it's more about healing and changing things. So I appreciate you a lot for what you're doing.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. You're welcome back, and you can bring. And for those of you who didn't see my tea, did I say which tea I was drinking today? I didn't. Oh, it was all going off though, wasn't it? There was too much happening. So yeah, just very briefly, the tea that I'm drinking is an iced tea. And it is hibiscus leaves with lemon and robust. I think I pronounced that right, or red bush tea.
Yeah.
Which I believe is from South Africa. Yeah, so I just did that as a loose leaf tea, and I put a bit of lemon in it as well. So it's quite citrusy, but it's very refreshing for a hot day like this.
Nice. Yeah,
so yeah, I'm gonna have to take a sip. Great. You've been great. I really appreciate you. You have a wonderful day. And for those of you listening, thank you for stopping by for tea, and have a great day as well. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye.
Bye.